Hi folks, Steven here. So today is going to be a sort of a recap of really a bunch of stuff. Obviously, a lot of stuff happening this week, or last week, a lot of stuff happening this week. But anyway, we're going to go over the Pokemon Go Community Day for Beedrill that was yesterday. We're going to go over some of the Pokemon Presents stuff from, let's see, from last week, last Wednesday. There's another one coming out this Wednesday. I'm also going to go over a few things, a few comments, and preview a little bit of stuff that's coming up on this channel. But we're going to go ahead and get started. As usual, of course, I have, let's see, you may notice the camera angle looks a little bit different. I'm using a somewhat different tripod setup. Let's see here. So you can see a little more of my shirt, I guess, than usual. But anyway, let's go ahead and, as usual, let's see. A second here. I have a nice little presentation queued up for really everything we're going to cover today. So first off, let's go with the Community Day. We're going to cover that first. So yesterday was the actual Community Day. It's another one of those quarantine style ones, although it has some differences from last time, which we will go over. So just to review, I wanted to show you the weather, even though I spent pretty much all of this indoors anyway. Let's see what I got here. So Sunday, May 24th was the last one. It had a high of 81 degrees, normal is 71. By the way, all these are in American units. Low is 62, normal is 49, and a wind speed average of 3.1 miles per hour. So yesterday, actually, the high temperature was a little cooler, about normal for this time of year. We had a high of 79 degrees, which is the average for now. The low was above normal. It was 69 degrees, so fairly narrow temperature range yesterday. We did get a little bit of a trace of rain, and wind speed was 5 miles per hour. All this data, of course, as usual, comes from the National Weather Service. So yeah, just wanted to kind of review that. So let's talk a little bit about, so this one, apparently there was a vote that went through for this. And people got to vote online for this. I forget what the other choices were. I think the second place one might be going for July, but I'm not 100% sure. But the winner was Weedle for whatever reason. Nothing I particularly against it. It just doesn't seem like much of an obvious choice. Although maybe it will work out given some recent announcements. But yeah, so it's all the details. You can see them right there on the screen. It's the usual 6 hours, so the normal 3 hours because of the current circumstances. 11 to 5 local time. And there's more shiny ones than usual. And as usual, if you evolve it, all 3 stages, you get a special move. In this case, it's going to be Beedrill is going to know Drill Run, which is a move it doesn't normally learn in the game. So yeah, it's sort of the typical fare there. But one thing that was missing, you may remember the last couple months for the CDOT and the Abra Community Month. Yeah, so this time around, no ticket, no research event that you can opt into for a buck or so, 99 cents, I believe, here in the United States. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. If it's just because it was voted on, they didn't have time to put something together based on that, like they would for some of the other planned ones, especially the Abra ones. They had to back that up a month. But kind of a little disappointed. So no special guidance on this one. Just basically catch as many, Weedle as you can. And that's sort of the plan there. All right, so a little disappointed there, perhaps. Let's see, a couple new things in Pokemon Go since the last time I played. Let's see, we have the daily free box, gets you a handful of items. So if you can't even make it to a Pokestop, you're not forced to play Monday just to do anything. Although, not super generous maybe, but it's about what you might get from a Pokestop on a good day. Let's see, the one I got yesterday had a Raspberry, a Pokeball, Great Ball, and a Potion. So some nice stuff there. Let's see. So yeah, one thing I like to do, since shinies are a little more prevalent under these circumstances, I like to do a little comparison of the regular and the shiny form of whatever Pokemon is featured here. On the left, you see the regular Weedle. On the right, you see the shiny ones. The shiny one is a little bit brighter yellow. And the nose might be a little different color because the way the eyes work, your eyes work, maybe it isn't different. I'm not 100% sure. I have to zoom in there. But you kind of get the idea there. So not a huge one. But we'll come back to what the shinies look like for this in a little bit, because I think it's kind of an interesting reversal of what we've seen in previous days. All right, so I wanted to point out this. You may remember last month when I talked about this, there was they have usually 3 boxes you can buy in the store for Pokecoins, and on the Community Day, there's a 4th one for the Community Day. Now, last month I talked about how there was the special box came with stuff that made it kind of a better value than the Community Day box for whatever reason. And I doubt they were watching this particular stream, but I think they might have noticed that too, because you notice the special box, you get star pieces, which are, I guess, are nice. I think those are just a lot of Stardust or whatever. But you notice you don't get 30 Ultra Balls on that box there. Maybe that was something they added in to be a little bit nicer during the heavier, more isolated days of the pandemic. So not as good a deal this time around, at least as far as just catching stuff. So I want to note that as a difference. Not super bitter over it, but a little disappointed, that's for sure. All right, so this is going to be a little bit quicker to go through, especially since there's no narrative for us to go through with Professor Willow. There's no special research kind of, unfortunately, but you can see I evolved into a Kakuna. I actually had the whole evolution line before this. This is one of the few times for this I haven't been missing at least the 3rd stage, but no, this time around. And then you evolve it into Beedrill, and as you can see over in the right-hand picture, we have a Drill Run. So good stuff there. To have kind of a ground move on a bug Pokemon is kind of interesting. I had no trouble getting the requisite amount of candy for this, and we'll talk more about that probably a little bit later. But our next thing here are the shinies. And I think in sort of I often sometimes lament that the shiny gets less distinct as the evolution line goes on. This time it's more or less the opposite. Kakuna is more of a greenish, and then Beedrill, well, with the stripes in there, kind of looks like a watermelon. Kind of. Not really, not quite. Not, only 2 stripes there, but yeah, definitely very, very much a green and more pronounced than the Weedle for whatever reason. So that's what the shinies look like. So yeah, I had no trouble really getting the Pokemon I wanted. I got a fair number of 3-star regulars and a 2-star shiny, which is where I got that Beedrill you see on the right there. So it wasn't too hard to get stuff. But let's see, let's go back here. One thing I should note is that I don't know if they lower them or if they're just lower because they're bug Pokemon. But the evolution requirements are not as high as they are for the other ones. For the other ones, you usually need 25 or so for the first stage and 100 for the second stage evolution. This time you needed like 12 and 50 or something like that, something much, much lower. So I ended up having a lot of Weedle candy left over. So we'll take a look. So that's something to look forward to, I guess. I guess I can power these folks up quite a bit. So I guess that's an advantage. All right, so let's talk about some of the other Pokemon I came through on this one. Yeah, so they're still working their way through some of the Gen 5 Pokemon. I think there's some Zekrom raids that are going on here and there. I didn't see, unfortunately, any enticing raids pop up this time. There was a Vulpix raid near the start of the time window as a 1-star raid, which I certainly could have done with a remote raid pass, but I didn't feel like using one on that just because it didn't seem to be worth my time terribly. But I did want to say one of the things I did manage to pop up here is a Panpour. I did not have that in my Pokedex until yesterday, so that was a fun little find. Those of you who have been to my Pokemon League might know that as a teaching deck, I have a deck that uses the Elemental Monkeys from Generation 5 in the trading card game. And so I've got the Panpour, the Pansage, and the Panseer, and their evolutions in there. I've also got Victini to do reflips on some of their attacks, and also the Manaphy. I kind of named it after one of my song parodies, the Thanks for the Manaphy. Hopefully you will understand why. So it's kind of nice. Unfortunately, the stats on the Panpour were actually pretty bad, so if it weren't my only one, I might transfer it in, but I'll wait until we get some more stuff there. Okay, so overall thoughts on this one. Yeah, so you may have noticed this was kind of a quick walkthrough of the Pokemon Go Community Day portion of this presentation, and part of that is I miss special research. Now, maybe by July I'll feel comfortable going somewhere in Madison. Still going to take precautions. Obviously, sunscreen now that it's summer and stuff like that. But I'm also going to, wear a mask and stuff like that because we won't be out of the woods with all the other stuff. But I kind of miss the special research. That was kind of a nice addition that I enjoyed doing with all of that. It wasn't maybe the most fantastic writing ever, but it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and it added a little bit of sort of a journey aspect to it, especially when you're stuck indoors. So I kind of missed that, and hopefully next month they'll have that. I did end up using an incense, especially since the evolution requirements were much lower than I originally thought. I really could have saved that. Not that I have a number of them, over half a dozen left. So it's not like I'm going to lose or run out anytime soon. So I'm not too worried about any of that. So not too worried about that. But I could have saved it, and I think that would have saved me a little bit. But if you have any thoughts on the community day from yesterday, go ahead and type those into the chat or post those as a comment. We always like getting those. Learn a little bit more about our viewers. Okay, so that kind of does it for that. But there was plenty more this week. So, yeah, on Wednesday, get some water here. There was. They called it a Pokemon Presents instead of a Nintendo Direct because I guess it is basically the same concept. It was about 11 minutes or so. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube, of course. And it was the same day as the Isle of Armor release, so obviously there was a bit of a tie-in there, but they didn't actually spend that much time on the DLC for Sword and Shield, which kind of surprised me just a little bit. What they did instead, they spent most of their time talking about various side games. Now, what we won't be talking about here is Pokemon Smile. I have nothing against it. It is just, I am obviously not the target audience by far on there, but you should brush your teeth. One of the ones I want to talk about, though, is Pokemon Cafe Mix. So, yeah, this is what they call this a key art, is what I've gotten in the press stuff that you can get from Pokemon. Actually, I just want to mention the full res version of this is it would be like a 10K image. In other words, 10,000 pixels wide. They really made that huge for some reason out there that I don't quite understand. But yeah, so let's take a look at this and see what we know about it so far. All right, so this is obviously a puzzle game. You can see there, it's sort of got a stirring mechanism. If you take a look at some of the actual animation in there, your goal is to link up stuff there and do things. We don't know a ton about the exact mechanics, but definitely sort of an active, puzzle-y type game there. So we do know. All right, so it's being developed by Genius Sonority. That should be a familiar name. First of all, the most recent thing they did, I think, before this was Pokemon Shuffle. So this is, you may have noticed the Pokemon Shuffle never released on the Switch, was released on 3DS and on mobile, never released on the Switch. And this, I guess, is sort of the pseudo follow-up / replacement to it. Genius Sonority actually has a pretty long history with the Pokemon franchise. They've made all the Troze games, and then Shuffle, and then this. And they've also been responsible for the side stadium-ish games on the GameCube and the Wii. That would be the, first of all, Coliseum, Gale of Darkness, and Battle Revolution on the GameCube and the Wii. I'm trying to think if they've done too much else. They've probably done at least one or two other things besides that in the puzzle line, but this is their newest one. The music, as far as I know and have read, is done by Tsukasa Tawada, who did the music for pretty much all of Genius Sonority's Pokemon games, at least. So very much looking forward to that. I think the music in this particular one definitely sounds like some of the areas, some of the more cafe-ish or maybe French-ish areas of Pokemon Shuffle that you get every so often there. Some of the more city areas. So I think we're going to be in they have a lot of that in store. All right, so I think that. All right, so here's the big news here. I'm excited for this, but not as excited as some other folks. My goodness. So they announced on Wednesday that there will be a new Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Snap, of course, is the game for the N64. It's a picture-taking game. It's definitely one of those, you either get it or you don't. And to a lot of folks, Pokemon Snap is sort of like over their heads or whatever you want to call it. They are finally bringing it back. Like I said, it originally released in like '99 on the N64, and it's been reasonably popular. But now we're finally getting another taste. They've put photography in a lot of Pokemon stuff, but this thing is coming back. All right, so what do we know? Well, what we do know is it's being developed by Bandai Namco, which is kind of interesting because they also did Pokken Tournament a couple years ago on the Wii U, and they eventually made a port for the Switch. We don't really know who's doing the music, so you may remember that the nice lady Memori, who did the music for the N64 version, it was kind of the last game she ever worked on. I don't know if she got burned out from that or had a career path change or, got married or had a kid or something. But it was kind of the last one. So I don't know. Hopefully I do kind of hope they're going to keep at least some of the original feel and maybe bring some of the stuff back. I didn't take a look at who did the music for Pokken Tournament because they might well be working on this. However, there was like 8 or 10 different people listed on the music for that game. Maybe because there was an arcade and a console version, so there was a lot of stuff there. But it'd be interesting to see what kind of music will sell. I do think the stuff from the trailer may well just be a stock music track rather than something from the game that's being worked on. Whereas I think the cafe mix music that we heard there is at least in some way related to the game. I just think it's just because I think that one is much further along. So you can pre-order the cafe mix, and this one we don't have a release date for. And the other thing I noticed in there is it seems there's a new player character. Don't have a name for him, but it definitely does not look to be like Snap. I do kind of hope Todd Snap has some sort of role in the game. Maybe he's taking the place of rating your pictures and stuff like that. But you can see the character that we do have in there in what appears to be the 01 or something very similar to it from the first game, holding a camera, of course. So that'll be interesting to see. One thing I think is that you'll probably have the choice between a male and a female character, and that's one reason Todd Snap had to kind of be is not maybe in there because who would want to play as the new person? Sorry. Yeah. Now, one thing I want to point out, people are really crowing about the graphics here. I did notice that the colors are really bright. Like you compare it to Sword and Shield, that really makes them pop out there because you can see like that the Grookey and the Pichu and then the Lapras is a really bright blue and stuff like that. And I think that's very intentional to sort of make it pop out of you. It's a different color style than what's used in like Sword and Shield and some of the other stuff we've seen. Kind of oversaturated, but not too much. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it there. But yeah, and folks have gone through and determined there's about 40-something Pokemon in the trailer, it looks like. But a pretty good variety there. The original one only had 63 out of 151. If there's a similar ratio here, I think that still works out to a couple hundred. So it'll be fun to learn more about this. I'm not nearly as excited as some other folks, but having finally played it within the last year or so, I really started to enjoy it. All right. And just a friendly little reminder, if you'd like to know more about the music of the original Pokemon Snap and sort of the story behind that, you can go ahead and check out episode 32 of the Pokepress Digest podcast. Ann and I went through and we sort of discussed all of the music for that game, including there's a cut level in the original Pokemon Snap. We'll see if they make a spiritual successor to that, which would be really interesting for them to do as a thing. But that episode is out there. So I would recommend taking a listen to that if you have not done so already, or if you just want to review the music of the original game. We don't actually play the music on there, really. We just sort of talk about it, but I think it's a good companion, maybe. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the DLC as well. They didn't. They only spent about a minute or two on it during the presentation. But I have been playing the Isle Armor. I have Shield, by the way. Apparently, Nintendo has been working some stuff out if you bought the wrong version of the DLC. I guess something to work on in the future is to make that confusion less possible. If you buy it through the game itself, it'll point you to the correct entry on the eShop. So that's one way to make it kind of foolproof. But I did pick up my Cub Fu, and I've been playing in there for a few hours. I do kind of like the martial arts dojo that Mustard runs. I keep wanting to. I've never really played Clue, but I keep wanting to call him Colonel Mustard, but no, he is not a colonel. But I'm still debating about which way to evolve line. But I've done a lot of stuff in there. I spent about probably 3 or 4 hours in the DLC area. It's really nicely built and very interconnected in a very interesting way. If you haven't picked it up yet, I strongly recommend you do. A lot of fun stuff in there. But so still deciding what to do with my Kung Fu. And no, I will not be doing a parody of Kung Fu fighting. I think that's a little too obvious. If someone else hasn't done that yet. But did want to talk about some of the stuff I caught and found during playing the Isle of Armor DLC. First of all, I caught a Mo Rotom. Not sure how everything is spawning, if there's like fixed spawns in certain places there, or stuff like that. I also picked up you can see on the top right there. I don't know if you can quite read it, but I picked up an Alakazam. I caught an Alakazam right there. And so a trait evolution, something you normally need to get that way, is actually just right there. And I managed to use an Ultra Ball and catch it. So that was actually pretty neat and pretty lucky, to be honest. And then I found this part at the bottom right. I don't know if they're trying to be meta or a joke, but you can spend watts to improve the dojo and add new things to it. And at one point you get the Rotini, or whatever it's called, the little kiosk there. And it doesn't work because you paid for the kiosk, but not the software. And then Honey, Mustard's wife, just kind of finally got that connection there. Let's see. Said this trying to gouge us for more watts of all the greedy, conniving business practices. Not sure if that's supposed to be meta or what there. I don't feel gouged by this DLC, at least not yet. But I did kind of find that a little amusing that they would stick that in there. Just finally got the Honey Mustard. Sorry. But yeah, that's the Isle of Armor. And I think we have a few more things after this. All right, wanted to briefly mention, as if we didn't have enough this month in the Pokemon world, Pokemon Journeys, the series, dropped on Netflix about a little over a week ago. I have watched the first 6 episodes of the 12 that there are in there so far. A little disappointed that Lugia's theme was not in episode 2 that has Lugia in it. Kind of a spoiler, I suppose. I am enjoying the theme song "The Journey Starts Today" by Walk Off the Earth. I did want to add in a little, plug for that because it's different than maybe the music cool style of earlier seasons, but it is in step with kind of music today. And there's some things I definitely really like about it. I like the fact that it's sort of a mixed gender rock group, and we'll talk more about that in a second, I think. But you can, there's a 2.5-minute version that you can get on most stores / streaming services. So I would definitely say take a look at that if you get a chance. And want to support the artist, because I'm sure Walk Off the Earth does get a cut after the Pokemon Company as well. But you can get that wherever digital music is streamed or sold. So that's kind of nice. As far as the background music, if you prefer the Japanese style on there from the original subtitle version, that you're entitled to that, I would just say, try to keep your emotions in check. I haven't seen that version. I am kind of interested since they do have a new person in that episode, or in that series in Japan, the guy from My Hero Academia, and I kind of would like to hear that. Maybe we'll get that chance with the movie, although who knows what's happening with Coco now it's been pushed back a couple months. But I liked it. I have sort of different standards for the background music, and going back to the Lugia's theme, I'm not even sure if they used that in the Lugia arc in the in season 5 of the anime. I'd have to double check that one. But yeah, so that's kind of some of the stuff that's going on there with the series. I do hope to finish up the other episodes as time goes on. And then hopefully we'll get a second one, I guess in September, we'll get a second set of episodes or something like that. But yeah, so, okay, and then next. All right, wanted to go over some feedback I've gotten on some videos recently. So let's see, last weekend, in sort of tandem with the last podcast episode, in case you missed it, last weekend I released, what is it? Oh, it's the episode about the second part of our discussion of Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, but there was a new interstitial and I made a video version of it. This is why it works, the B-52s and the Chosen One. So yeah, so this is kind of a so normally what I would have done with the why it works here is taken a non-Pokemon song that was used in that context and explained why it worked. This one was a little bit different. This song was definitely written for the movie based on the legend from Pokemon 2000. And they brought in the B-52s and they were willing to record a song based on it, and I can sort of explain that worked. By the way, happy Pride Month. Let's see. And I got this nice comment from DDD033, and that is, thanks for posting one of my favorite songs as a kid, and I sort of explained there. But yeah, I'm looking to do more of these in the future, especially since there aren't a ton, I think, of non-Pokemon adopted songs left, at least until the next big movie comes out or something like that. But I'll find more things to do with this. But very much want to thank them for their comment there, and I hope to hear more from them in the future. If you have any comments on any of our stuff, be sure to do that. All right, got another comment here on, yes, discussing the music of Pokemon Pinball with PKP Podcast. By the way, Ann and I are working on putting together a date and time for our disputed Pokemon music discussion, which I think is shaping up to be next weekend, although we're still working that stuff out there. So give us some time on that. But we got this post from someone named Prancer. Says that we weren't sure who did the music for Pokemon Pinball. According to Prancer, it is Go Ichinose. I hope I said that about right. Which I think I've heard that name. I mean, I've heard that name in association with some of the like the Gen 2 music and beyond and stuff like that. But I think I've also heard people reference him as being the person who did this. Unfortunately, I don't think they have a hard confirmation on that somewhere. Not that I totally doubt this person or anything like that. I just like to have a, you know, if he's posted something on social media that confirms it and stuff like that, that would be good to know. But that sort of explains why some of the later stuff, even stuff that isn't directly tied into this game, also kind of sounds like stuff from this game. So yeah, so we got that one in there. So that was another good comment, and we'll probably talk more about that with Anne on our discussion because we like to bring those in. But I did want to give it a chance here, so thank you very much, Prancer. Really appreciate your comment there. All right, I think. Yes. So PokeCast doesn't work. Unfortunately, they don't have their schedule up for next month. Now, last Saturday was our trivia night, and I placed fourth. I did reasonably well there, although I kind of hoped I'd finish a spot or two higher. I didn't write any of the questions, just so you know, although some other podcast hosts did, and maybe next time around that's what I'll do instead. Excuse me. But coming up on the June 27th, we do have a raid night scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that is still inside the window for the Zera Aura raids that are going on. So keep an eye out for those, because those are going to be pretty important on that. Because if a certain number of people, I think if they have to win a certain number of raids or whatever, stuff like that, then everyone gets a Zera Aura. It's kind of like the Mewtwo one they did a couple months ago. So, but our actual raid night for the PokeCasters Network is going to be Saturday, June 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Take a look at the Discord for that. That's where it's done. And if you're not sure what those raid nights are, I did put up a couple weeks ago, I did a live stream of one of them. So you can take a look at that. All right, I think that is, in fact, yes, that is the last slide there. All right, so a lot of stuff on that. My goodness, a lot of stuff to get through, and I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do because I have no idea what they're going to announce on Wednesday at the another Pokemon Presents. I'm guessing things have just been kind of shuffled around because E3 was supposed to be this month, but of course that got canceled because of the outbreak. And let me know a couple things. First of all, what you think of this new camera setup. I think we're going to try and use this for something close to it later in next time Ann and I get together. So there'll be a microphone like right about there, but hopefully you'll be able to see me a little bit better. What else is there? But as far as this Wednesday, I'm not really sure what they're going to announce. I think some folks are thinking it's going to be the Diamond and Pearl remix. Some folks think it's going to be. They seem to suggest there's something of a decent size there, like Let's Go Johto. I think the latter of those two is probably more likely. Something a little bit lighter after we've been through Sword and Shield and then DLC. But you never know. Or it could be something totally out of left field that still counts as major. You never know. Maybe some announcements about upcoming other stuff in there. But, all right. Well, thank you very much for everyone for being here. See you around. All right. Thanks.